So we're back. Welcome to the Masters Mentoring Series, Part 6, the art form. Hello, Money. We're
Hi.
back. What
Hi,
you're looking
Carol.
at is our website. This is the page at eaglecharities.org/money-garibay. The art of Money Garibay is like a visual commentary of society's morality or lack thereof. Having studied theology with Masters of Divinity, Money's works depict the everyday life of Filipinos caught in politics or religious realities. So today we are fortunate to share some of the thoughts and visions on what art looks like, what's trending in the present art scene, and some analysis, right, Manny, and how it affects human behavior.
hmm
So,
Yeah,
ano ba tingin mo, Manny, what's the trending part today? I will not share muna, no? Para we
trending
can,
of what?
ano bang trending ngayon sa art scene in terms of the art form?
Uh, we, well, it's still generally described as contemporary art, meaning to say it's just giving a designation of the time frame, meaning it's art that is created uh, during our time, but there is no definite or there is no definitive style or idea or any kind of intention that's being conveyed in the art forms. So, in other words, there's a multiplicity of style, direction. Uh, but I think in contrast to the previous period that it succeeded, uh, meaning the modern art. It concerns itself more with pursuits of, I say, meaning beyond the issue of beyond the issues of truth. No, so it's very interesting because it's like searching for meaning without being encumbered by the necessity of truth.
So,
So
minsan, di ba
kind
parang
of
as an artist, minsan
paradoxical.
nawawala kami, di ba? We're thinking about the form and what to do next.
hmm hmm Yeah, well, it can be quite confusing to figure it out because we're always, I mean, that's human nature. We're always trying to figure things out and how it makes sense to us. Um, I guess that's part of the struggle of the artists themselves. So the works that they're coming out with are reflective of how they're kind of uh, searching for meanings in their existence at the moment. No. So iba kasi ngayon eh. If you look back to the past, there was always like an institution that decides what truth is, and everything else emanates from that. You know, uh, unlike today, uh, no one can impose on you what the truth is. I guess, except in some more fundamentalist societies where religious truth is still being imposed and absolutized. But in most modern societies or contemporary societies, that's no longer the case. You know, so individuals are given the freedom to seek their own truths. So everything tends to be relativized to the point that it's getting more and more challenging to decide what is collectively um meaningful to us because nobody really is given that authority to impose uh, their brand of truth on others.
Well, you
Yeah.
mentioned religious art. It's the oldest attempt at visual commentary, diba? Religious art. It's like weaving together stories about virtues and vices, or how human lives are supposed to be, to act one way or the other. And yet, how humanity behaves a certain way at the risk of the soul going to the purgatory, or maybe not enjoying eternal life. So, parang nandun pa rin yung religious art. And it seems to be a timeless topic that is just being extended along with the socio-political situation.
Well, as long as the institutions are there, religious art will always seek to assert its relevance. No, but on the other hand, there is a separate kind of assertion going on that which challenges the claims of these institutions. So there are also there are artists who are kind of aggressively trying to challenge these claims to ecclesial or divine authorities um, claimed by the institutions. Now, so I think that's part of what makes our times much more interesting because there's an open debate, and the institutions that used to rule it over in absolute terms are being challenged and are no longer in a position to simply persecute those who are opposed to them. I mean, you have to recall not too long ago, they had what they call the Inquisitions, no, which lasted for several centuries, especially in Spain. Ganun. So, but that can no longer be what's this exercised these days because the church no longer has any kind of authority over the lives of the people. You know, so they can only kind of have what do you call this uh, moral influence at the most. No.
Pero sa nakikita, the way I see it, there seems to be a revival of the what you may call the realism, right? Contemporary realism. While it's true that we have a lot of modern arts today, we still love the realism style. But then, would you think that it's now more of a blending of realism with surrealism, or is this even relevant topic to talk about right now?
Well, I think at this point, a lot of things can always, like I said, emerge as a relevant subject. Uh, figurative art, whether realist or not, will always keep itself visible in the art scene, mainly because there is always a need for us as humans to see some reflections of ourselves, you know. So it's very inherent. It's very built in among us. So no matter how far you take the discourse and the evolution of the visual idiom, no, it will always have a recurrent tendency to go back to something as basic as the human figure. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that's, I mean, it's something to talk about, but it's not something that really compels one to take a serious consideration in the sense that it has never really been threatened. I would say it's basically some assertions by people in perhaps those who regard themselves to be occupying a higher plane in the art scene, an attitude that they want to cultivate, that figurative art is losing relevance. Oh yeah, good
Yeah,
that you brought this up already.
we have here a file that
Hmm.
I find very, very interesting, and maybe you can talk more about something like this. I think this is part of the Sistine Chapel, right, sa Rome?
It is. It is. It's
Yeah.
probably the most what do they say uh, central. What's this focus of the art of Michelangelo in this on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. No? I think everybody knows this painting. You know,
Yes.
I don't know if it's specifically titled as the creation of Adam, but I mean that has become the conventional title to it. But and this has been well discussed already. So what I'm going to say about it is really nothing new. No? But I still find it very foundational in discussing the later emergence or movements in the arts. So you have to. One of the things we need to always be aware of is the context in which the painting was done. So, like in this case, this is 16th century Italy, where the so-called the Renaissance is in high gear already. So it's taking place and it's very widespread already. And the ideas of the liberal ideas of the Renaissance is already widespread. And what Michelangelo, having come from the conditions uh, given by his time with the Medicis in Florence, was very much was this exposed to the philosophies of the classical period. So one it was told that one of their regular routine was to have meals or dinners with scientists, philosophers, historians, so that like one cannot help but be affected by the ideas that's going around. And one of the ideas at the time was veering more and more away from the regimented, what's this regimented, a very ecclesial worldview of the previous period. So it was very religious. It's, so like in this case, you see an image of Adam and God on the other side, and it is very interesting. Like, well, you can always say that God is reaching out to Adam and probably about to give life to him. But you can always say it's the other way around. It's Adam creating God. You know, uh, so because on if you notice the drapery
Yeah.
that is engulfing the figure of God
Yeah.
is shaped like the cranium of the brain. You know, so parang it's like saying, is God the creation of man? You know? Or
Oh,
they sort of created each other in effect, in this case. And this is very interesting because we can never really say for sure because well, Michelangelo is no longer around to say what his real intentions were. but that appears to be the case, no? Parang ganon.
Mm.
And you can all even insinuate some nasty things about, like, why is God's hand, uh, kind of all kaya na, what do you call that? Nakapatong sa likod ni uh,
Oh, this
Eve, no?
letter should
That's
be
supposed to be Eve,
here.
no? Uh,
Yeah,
Ayan.
yeah,
So, and then what are all the kids doing there? you know. So, of course, in that religious context, they would be noted as cherubims. But in this case, if you're looking at it, not familiar with the Christian tradition, parang well, that old man is there, and that woman is his wife, and and those kids are their children. You know, something like that.
right, right.
And it's not so far fetched, because like you have to remember that the worldview of the classical period starts with their image or their concept of a god Zeus, who's he's like a playboy. No, he has kids from so many women. So I guess in this case, but that's an insinuation. I think Michelangelo was not really after, but it's something that can make your mind play, you know. But that's
Yeah,
the point in this image. Na parang it has that kind of ambiguity about it, where you can say that God created man or man created God, or it goes both ways. So it's very interesting, because this was a turning point in the church, in church history. It started with the spreading of liberal ideas, and people started questioning some of the basic doctrines of the church.
mm,
And this actually led to the emergence of the Reformation. So this was more or less contemporaneous with the eventual spread of the Reformation.
at that time, yeah. And
Mm.
then we have this figure that I thought, yan, mas medyo malakas to. This reminds me of a lot of paintings like this. And I remember one of Orly Ipon, Typhoon Yolanda.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-uh.
it's also something like this. I really,
Mhm.
I just recall that when
Mhm.
he did that painting.
Even Molong Gallicano has a similar painting with, I think, the same theme in mind. Yung ganun. At any rate, yeah, parang, well, this is a much later painting. This was during the period of Romanticism. The title is The Wrath of the Medusa,
Mm.
and it speaks about the survivors of a shipwreck. No? And it depicts that moment where they were about to be rescued. So there were just a few survivors out of the hundreds of passengers in the ship. So yeah,
Oh, I see, I see.
so it tells the whole drama of just trying to survive. And there were accounts of cannibalism that they had to resort to just in order to survive, no? Yung ganon. And so in this painting, it's not so much about, symbolism or metaphors. No, it's really more of the capturing, no, the drama that took place in during their uh, the time that they were shipwrecked. No? So ayan,
Marami pa rin tayo nakikitang ganyan until now,
Yeah.
right?
Uh,
It is,
I guess the most notable part of in this painting is, if you notice, it's composed around a triangle. No? So there's a build up of human figures, and the highest figure, and which is supported by the arm of one of the men in the lower left side, is that of a black man.
ito.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and apparently that black man could be a slave, no? Ganun. So parang it's very interesting because the artist Theodore Jericho is is a figure who is very much a staunch what do you call this, abolitionist, no? Ganon.
Mm,
So he deliberately placed the black man on top and is the
on
one
top.
who parang who does most vigorously the act of trying to catch the attention of a passing ship.
Wow. So may mga hidden ano siya, meanings.
Oh yeah. Actually, meron pang there are about two black figures there. No, the other one is less visible, and then there are stories where like in the lower left part is a man holding on to the body of his dead son, mga ganon. So it's really all about, parang heightening the dramatic elements in the painting.
Oh my goodness. So let me see what ito. How does this now relate to our
Aha. And then suddenly, so ang bilis ng shift natin, no? Suddenly, the first image, we saw something familiar, and then the other one, ganun pa din, no? By the way, eto, I think this should come later, eh? But at any rate, it's already there. Let's talk about it.
yeah.
So who is Armat? Balik tayo doon. Let's go back to, can we go back to the urinal?
Yeah.
Nope, that one.
Sino si Matt?
Ayaw mo niyan, ano?
Sino si Matt?
Okay. This is, well, that's the signature written by the artist. His real name is Marcel Duchamp, no? And is regarded as the pioneer of conceptual art, no? Yung ganon. And this is already at the height of modernism or modern art in Europe. And it was a point where everyone, the artists had this heightened sense of autonomy. You have, so again, the context. Now, it's very important to establish the context again. So artists were no longer doing art because they're commissioned by certain important people or being commissioned by the church, or they now had a freedom to do art as they please, to do art because they feel that's the art that needs to be done, you know.
Yeah.
So during the modern period, the spirit was in pursuit of new forms, new ways of doing art. Modernism was characterized by uh, the primacy of the form. The form was very important. You know?
What year was it? What year? Is it 1917?
Yes. Mm-mm.
Oh,
So
modern.
that's like more than 100 years ago. No?
Uh-huh.
So yung conceptual art, matagal talaga ang roots din yan. No? And so, and one of the, like I was saying, no, the artists were trying to pursue their own personal directions. And Marcel Duchamp, a leading figure, in the art scene in France now and in Europe, decided to put a urinal in a museum, no? And sinabi niya, this is art.
Okay.
So that shocked everyone, no? Parang, ano, how could you say that it's art? You did not even do anything about it. You just signed a name on it, and then you call it art,
Yeah.
di ba? So parang tipong, how can you call that art? If someone else did that, it's a ready-made, you know. So parang, well, sabi niya, well, that's art because I said so, because the artist says so. No? So that's how far he was willing to push the assertion that the art determines what art is, and it's not any other entity. No, so it's not art because it's what the church says it is. It's not art because it is what the state says it is. It's not art because it's what the market says it is. Sinasabi niya, it is art because it's the artist that says that it's art.
It is.
No,
So, yeah,
but
that's
it's not merely an assertion. No, like if you look at it, there's something interesting about the form itself, di ba?
right.
Parang once it's already isolated, once it's no longer in the toilet,
Yeah.
and once it's placed maybe on some kind of a pedestal with that dark background around it, then you see it appears to exude some kind of a transcendental quality about it. You know? If you think about it, then you start considering, yeah, maybe this guy has a point. It appears to have that kind of, uh, you know, renewed vibrancy about it once it has been removed from its functional context and placed in a context where it becomes elevated, taken away from its ordinariness, and elevated to a higher plane. And that's what the artist did. No.
And I think that explains a lot of the objects that we see in, even in MoMA, in these museums. I find a lot of
Mhm.
objects there, and then you have to stop and pause and think about, find the reason for
Mhm.
staging object in the museum. So
Yeah.
it's something. And now, can we check out the next? Oh, no, this comes in. No,
So this should be familiar to you.
yes,
Okay. And aside from that, there's another. I think there's another slide by the same artist.
yes.
Yes. Okay. So what do you think about them?
You know what I like about this? Yung repetition, which
Hmm.
is really essential with artists. You keep on doing the same figure, the same form, and trying out different color combinations, how they look like. I think this is really one of the basic techniques that artists should be doing, right? Yung repetition in the same form.
Yeah. Well, repetition is like saying the same things over and over again until it gets penetrated deeply into your psyche and that it's so embedded that it becomes part of your consciousness, doesn't it? Diba?
Yes, yes, that's right.
So you have to remember that the artist Andy Warhol uh, is trained as an advertising artist. So he knows how advertising works, and he knows that repetition has a way of just doing that, no? A subtle penetration of your psyche, and then it becomes so embedded that it doesn't go away that easily. No. Now, what Warhol has uh, accomplished in doing, maybe intentionally or not intentionally, was basically to celebrate consumerism. So if you look at the first, what's this slide, the previous slide, you have Coca-Cola and Campbell soup. So parang, why did you iconize a consumer product? No. Why did you elevate? Why did you take some time to bring them higher? Practically elevating them, no? Kind of according some kind of divinity to them. No, what's the point? And the same thing he did to Marilyn Monroe. No, a symbol of glamour, fame, maybe a bit tragic, but just the same. It's a celebration of glamour and fame. Now, you have to take note again the context that Andy Warhol, a Polish immigrant to the United States, was a very devout Catholic. So he is very familiar with iconography. You know, he goes to church very regularly and prays. You know? So I guess one might say there's probably some kind of conflict internally within him. You know, a very religious life on one hand and a party goer, person on the other hand. But the point is, what he has succeeded in doing is to iconize symbols of consumption and symbols of fame and celebrity, glamour. It's a very stark contrast to the iconography that he is familiar with, one that celebrates righteousness, moral, ethical uprightness. You know, which like if you contrast to the personalities he has iconized, like Marilyn Monroe or Elvis Presley, uh, I think they're kind of opposites, aren't they? Diba? Medyo, so it's really like and uh, Warhol was very much responsible for affecting the thinking among many Americans to stop Europe envy. No, prior to this, they many Americans felt a certain sense of inferiority culturally towards Europeans. But what Warhol may have accomplished in doing was to tell the Americans it's all right to be shallow, consumerist, and kind of starstruck towards celebrities because that's who we are, and let's celebrate that. So, parang that's why his works or his impact on American culture is so what's this? So deeply ingrained, no? And so napaka um how would I describe the right term for that? Well, it's very no, parang fundamental, no, napaka rooted, and I would say that starts the mentality na parang just keep celebrating a life of consumerism because that's okay. Yung ganon.
Yeah. And imagine, inisa-isa niya talaga, like each, it's the same repetition process again, right? Except changing the
Yeah.
label, the soup
Mm-hmm.
itself,
Mm-hmm.
and which is the brand, which is what they sell actually in the market. That's
And
really,
I would say he's largely responsible for influencing the mindset of many people these days, the need to be noticed. No? So he was very prophetic in saying that in the future, everyone will be famous for 15 minutes, maybe 15 minutes too long, no? But with the digital technology, everyone has a way of making himself or herself visible throughout the world, you know. So that was very prophetic. Uh, yeah,
That is
but of
true.
course,
In the Meta Facebook, once you get hits of like 500 views on any of your posts, you become a digital creator. Sometimes you just put a 1 minute video of something that you saw, and it gets thousands of views. It's amazing. Like when I look at my post, sometimes it reaches 5,000 views, and it's surprising that actually you are a digital creator.
yeah. But again, when you think about the implications, what does that all amount to? You know, so w- I mean, what if you do get a lot of attention? So what happens next? You know, does that make you a better person? Does that make you happier? You get on. I think there are a lot of pros and cons to be considered when you think about the deeper implications of where these influences take you. You know? So I guess in the end, it compels one to reflect or to yeah to consider their basic values. Mm. What's the next image, ba? Do you have more? Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Now this is going back, backtracking a little bit. So this painting was uh, done much earlier than. So medyo hindi pala chronological yung order ng ating mga works na. But this is another very famous painting. It's hanging in the Sofia Museum in Madrid. No? And I think everybody knows this. It's Guernica by Pablo Picasso.
I see.
Again,
Here.
the
Yeah.
most important consideration is the context. So if we're not aware of the context, we'll see that it's a painting that appears to dramatize pain, suffering, agony, no, and you know, the general experience of how one loses one's humanity, no, yung ganon. Uh, but if you understand the context, if you're familiar with the context, then it would be easier to realize that this is actually an anti-war painting. You know, so Guernica is a town in Spain which was loyal to the Republicans. This was during the Civil War in Spain, where the Republicans were fighting against the Royalist forces of Francisco Franco. And the Royalists were aided by the German and the by Nazi Germany. And during the war, this town was bombed heavily by German bombers. No, so yeah, the and this incident was immortalized by Picasso in his. This is a very large scale painting. No, uh,
Para siya mural, no?
it is. It is. It's big, and it looks simple because of the flatness. No, it appears to be flat. Most of the figures, it's like line drawings of distorted human figures. and some animals and yung mga ganon. So it's like taking place inside a house where death, dying, and pain is taking place. No? And so it's not only happening to to humans, but to animals themselves. So yeah, parang there's general chaos. No? And yet, in contrast to what we are familiar with as yung mga realist paintings, this one is able to heighten the sense of pain and drama by distorting the figures, but at the same time, uh, retaining the flatness of the figures. So it's a very clever device by the artist, who, by the way, at a very young age, was already a master of realism. No?
Yes.
So, batang-bata pa lang siya, he was already painting like any romantic or realist or neo-realist artist of his time.
Yeah, yung mga
So,
portraiture niya
by,
noon, no?
yeah, he was a real prodigy. So by the time he got a bit older, probably in his late teens or early 20s, he decided to abandon realism in favor of modernism. Ganun. And he found modernism much more exciting because it allowed him to explore more possibilities, and he probably felt that realism can be a bit constricting because there are certain decorums to be observed. Unlike in realism, there was so much room to explore. There were no rules to bind him, and the only rule was to create one's own rules. You know, so and this is one of the one case where he has really attained mastery of his particular style. No? In this is what you call cubism, no?
Yeah.
Where he breaks down the figures into its elemental form in order to heighten a certain aspect uh, of feelings, or yung the expressions now that he wanted to convey, which would otherwise be limited if we stuck to realism.
Right, that's right. And ano ba yung next nito? Oh, this is a totally different.
Again, this goes back again in time. This is more or less contemporaneous with the earlier painting, The Raft of the Medusa, by Theodore Jericho. This one is by Caspar Frederick, no? A German artist. And it was noted now. I can't really remember that well, but it appears to be one of the favorite works by uh, the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. No? Uh, and there's a good reason why that is so, Dial, because it shows a figure apparently on top of nature, parang it's man above nature, which may seem contradictory to the general spirit of romanticism, which celebrates nature and kind of reduces man in relation to nature. No? So, but if you look at this, there seems to be an organic presence of the human figure with a background, especially in terms of the color, no? The color of the dress of the man. No? Parang it appears to be integral to the landscape,
Yeah.
especially on the rocks that he is standing on. Ganon. So
Yeah.
parang if you're familiar with Wagner, the musician, no? para mong naririnig yung music ni Wagner sa background. And again, Wagner is also a favorite musician of Friedrich Nietzsche. So parang it's all about the pursuit of human dominion. It's all about the pursuit of human power. You know? So yun yung parang pinaka ano uh, preoccupation ng mga well, mainly ni Friedrich Nietzsche, who is a very important philosopher who many has misconstrued to have probably influenced the Nazis. No? So maraming if you misinterpret major thinkers of our history, there's a tendency to misuse them or misrepresent them.
What
And
year
that was
was
the case.
this? Anong year ba to?
This is late 19th century.
Mm.
So medyo nagkakalapit na, no? And in fact, the sister of Nietzsche was kind of sympathetic to the Nazis. So she she was in a way sort of gave the sort of parang a way of giving a blessing to the Nazis, no, na it's okay to use my brother as a one that represents a foundational ideology to Nazism, something like that. Uh, but of course, Nietzsche is not an easy reading, no. So parang there are several lines from his writings that can easily be uh, misconstrued as representing the ideals of Nazism.
Oh, okay. Now I want to bring back to I put some pictures, some of which are my old favorites. Well, of course, this is my favorite. That's Manny Garibay.
You're putting me on the spot.
But
Uh,
I have some, meron akong gustong pakita sa'yo dito. That, when I saw this back sa Met Museum a long time ago, yan, it really spoke to me. This piece, Justice and Vengeance in Pursuit of a Crime, 1805, Pierre Proudhon.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm,
Commission yan para sa it's a commission supposed to be destined to hang behind a judge's bench in a criminal courtroom at the Palace of Justice in Paris. So,
mhm,
but it spoke so eloquently to somebody who is in this business, because when I saw this, it's like white and red. So the light, and the other one is vengeance, the angel of vengeance, parang divine vengeance,
mhm.
pursuing a
Yeah.
criminal. And but at the same time,
Mhm,
the lights and the shadow, it's so strong. And I think
mhm.
type of paintings is still repeated until today. When you put the angels in this system, di ba? Yung form ng
Yeah.
angel, yan.
Yeah, but then yun nga that's what I'm also trying to say in some of my discussions. When it was painted during the time, I'm sure it had its impact, no? But I guess when you do that now, it will still probably stir some kind of impact as something that is evocative emotionally. But I guess that's why, like when you're doing art criticism, it also requires one to be familiar with art history. So, like when you're doing something like that in the present, um, it's more of like um, asking yourself, why do you keep doing stuff that's been done and exhaustively explored already? You know.
I see. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but then of course there's also another way by which you can deal with a familiar kind of classic work of art that's been done by artists in the past or masters in the past, and infuse it with contemporary treatment. So then that becomes you're able to infuse relevance to it, because you're like getting something in the past and letting it speak to the present, you know. So this
So
one will
within
always evoke a
religious,
powerful reaction, no?
yeah, yeah. So
So
religious art pa rin siya. And
yeah.
talking, yeah, I was just talking to Otto, and I think he was supposed to log in today. Yung sa kanya, may blending
uh,
ng past and present.
mhm. Yeah, mga ganyan, no? Mm.
May blending yung sa kanya, which really makes him different.
Mhm.
Like this one, when I saw this, when he did this, growing old together, parang I like the idea, but he put the candles instead.
Mhm.
Yeah. But if I may just quickly look at yeah, June is not available today. He created some of this Panata and Balanong Komedya.
Mhm.
Ito yung parang story ng purgatory and and hell, and
Mhm.
yeah, yun yung mga stages. So andun pa
Mhm.
rin yung essence ng religious art. And you know, this is really timely because we are running a 500 years of Christianity and Catholic devotion competition along
Mhm.
along with the Archdiocese of Manila. So
Mhm.
we are preparing for a big religious art show on Catholic
Mhm.
devotions at the Manila
Mhm.
Cathedral
Mhm.
coming up soon. Kaya
Mhm.
delving into some of this religious, ayan, nakita ko yung kay Orly na invocation, ay sabi ko sa kanya, pwede bang pakita ko lang itong invocation? I mean, it's another
Mhm.
religion, no? Ibang klase. And Orly is so known for this type, yung mga nakalubog doon sa putik na yan.
Mhm.
He's very well
Yeah,
known.
siguro I think that's one of the things I wanted to bring up now. Yung there's always this tension between philosophy and religion. Philosophy's aim is to seek a higher level of truth, one that would enable humanity to extricate themselves from a thinking, a mindset, a worldview that prevents them from growing because of their continued adherence to a way of thinking that takes away the autonomy uh, from themselves and always attaches themselves to a worldview that uh, higher factors or forces govern their lives. Ganon. So for most part, most philosophies are not receptive to the idea that humans should be subjected to an external force, real or imagined, that prevents their real growth. You know, and that's why I cited Nietzsche earlier, no? Because real growth to Nietzsche is one where one grows and becomes disentangled with ideologies that that prevents them from understanding life as it is, and instead subscribing to a version of what life is according to the dictates of certain institutions, you know. So yun yung ano eh, that's my point na parang I think the role of the artist is to be an agent of a liberating agent, where the goal is to seek uh, one's freedom, one's autonomy. And if you notice, most societies who have gone beyond the constrictions of, let me put it more abruptly, directly now, the constrictions of religion are the ones who have moved on. No? And I would say the main problem with our nation is it remains stuck to a medieval worldview as dictated by the church. You know? So, like, if we keep looking back to the past 500 years ago as if
Yeah.
it was a God-given gift that we should be subdued by the ideology of the Europeans, and we should be grateful for that. And that's where I think we would differ, no? Because I totally don't subscribe to that view. Because in to me, the real goal of life is to be emancipated from any kind of ideology that constricts one to be submissive to the dictates of bigger powers outside of them.
Gusto ko lang ipakita tong mga very strong paintings ni Garibay.
Yeah.
Can you tell me quickly? Yeah, when
Well, like I said, I would
this
be
is the
very
Manny Garibay I know.
hesitant to discuss them because I just discussed the masters, and
Oh
I
yeah,
wouldn't like to put
yeah.
myself in the same vein as these. I mean, like I don't see myself anywhere close to them at all. So I'm just happy with where I am at the moment, and I would never imagine myself to be, regarded in the same vein. Not at all.
You're so humble naman.
No, I don't think. I'm just being realistic. Yeah. So I know talent. I know brilliance when I see one. And if someone would regard that of me, then it's not gonna come from myself.
Yeah. Well, yeah, as you know, usually it's after a man's life that he suddenly becomes a master, But truth is, we have so many living masters right now, and we're very fortunate to have living masters among us who can talk to us and tell us about thoughts, what you think of the art today versus the art yesterday. These are things that we should take advantage of from somebody who's alive and who's talking to us right now about art, about perspectives and the philosophy behind the art. I think this is what we need right now, to hear from a living master, not just studying and guessing from the past. Probably this is what the artist thought. So it's better to hear it now, right?
Mm. Thank you, Carol. But I have to let you
Yes.
know, I always cringe whenever I hear that word master in reference to me. So I don't feel like I'm parang I'm rightfully being accorded such a no, no, parang is a position. But well, I'm just happy that you don't tire of having me around in spite of what probably is contradictory position that I take on matters that you hold dearly.
Well, ano naman yan? It's not necessarily, that's what I love about our group. We have our own different views, but somehow they still mix in the pot together. So it's still good. Like ito
Yeah.
si Otto, I love Otto, also Otto's style. I mean, this one is Orly's version of Bacchanalia, but you know, there was a Bacchanalia a long time ago.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, it's a common theme among many artists, and that's actually a an interesting tension between in philosophy. You know, the so-called Apollonian and Dionysian tendencies. You know, Dionysian is the Bacchanalia, and Apollonian is more the pursuit of order, reason. You know, so and that has always been the constant kind of tension uh, that's keeping societies intact for the longest time. So it's not actually saying that one should do away with the other and just retain one. So there always has to be that continuing wrestling of these two opposing tendencies, and that's what makes, or that's what comprises or completes our humanity. You know? So on one hand, you have this, you know, very kind of anything goes kind of wild parties, you know,
Yes, yes,
drunken wild
friendship
parties.
parties.
Uh,
So if today's artist is looking at something like this, the Bacchanalia of the 16th century, siguro it's not as relevant anymore. But unless you add some elements, right? I mean, the form.
mhm.
I still love this. I love this evil looking guy at the back here, and this little
Mhm.
one here, this evil baby here. I mean, I still love that figure, but maybe
Mhm.
in present time, there has to be some more elements of the 21st century.
Well,
We
a lot of that it's still happening, I'm sure, where all this bestial licentiousness is taking place, you know. But I think it's more rampant among people who have the means to live lavish, carefree lifestyle, so they don't have to worry about where to get their next meal, you know, and whether they get caught or whether. So these are people who are mostly above the law, you know, people who have uh, you know, excessive wealth, and yeah, so they can pretty much allow themselves all the worldly pleasures that they can uh, get, because simply because they can afford to do it.
And actually, when I look at this modern version of Bacchanalia by Orly, it really says a lot about the modern times. In fact, yeah, no, pati yung that horse behind there, and you know, and a combination of a lot of things here happening, like this lady in black. I love how this is a combination of the old Bacchanalia, taking it to the present days. So I think this is when you talk of the art form, it seems to me that when you combine a thing of the past with the present, that's that's more like what the buyers are looking for right now. Diba? There's this feel of the past, but at the same time, it speaks to you in the present day. What do you
I
think? What are
guess
the
so.
buyers really looking for right now?
Well,
Actors.
it's hard to tell. Basically, uh, in a market-driven world in the art scene, uh, among the things that they'd be looking for would be the brand name. So it's not a very happy scenario. where buyers don't even need to look at the work. They just need to know whose work it is. Yeah. So they would buy a work simply because on the basis of it's the work by a particular artist who's
Mm.
already well established in the market. So they buy in terms of marketability. They buy, but that's just well. I would say that's a major consideration among many in the collecting world. But there are still those who buy because they like the work, and that part is a little bit more complex because they buy it because they like it because there's something in it that they can relate. They like the decorative value of it. It looks nice on their walls, things like that. It blends with their furniture. So there are a lot of reasons why people buy artworks. And well, if I were to be asked how one should assess an artwork, I would say I would put more value on art that reflects an honest wrestling with one's humanity. Meaning to say, there are two tendencies in the art among artists. One aspires to become God, the other aspires to become fully human. So the aspiration for perfection in craftsmanship is more a pursuit of divinity. The aspiration to know, to be one with oneself in a very uh, fundamental and profound way is the one that aspires to be fully human. You know, I don't know how you can distinguish that in looking at artworks. But when I'm looking at artworks that reveal more struggle,
Mhm.
more attempts to search what one is seeking, I would be drawn more to that than one that displays um, a very high degree of mastery, of
Yeah.
perfection of craft.
Yeah, parang
So there,
perfection
there are
of craft
always
na eh, no?
yeah. So there are always two tendencies, but that's just my bias. Now, I'm not I'm not trying to put one over the other.
Right.
You know? So kasi sa akin, I'm speaking for myself in this case because I don't regard myself as that talented. I don't have that, I would say, high degree of mastery of my craft. But I would consider myself as one who continuously struggle to overcome my limitation in order to accomplish what I set myself to accomplish in terms of the work that I'm doing. So to me, every time my work reflects that degree of internal struggle just to get to where I want to go, that to me is the kind of work that I seek. So whenever things are too easy for me, I would feel a little discomfort at the thought that how come I just finish it in a very short time and then that's it. You know.
True, true.
So
But
well,
that makes me feel good about, when you really invest time into your work, because you're so right about that. When you finish it so quickly, you feel like there's something wrong with it. Like it's not
well,
the
that's when you
best.
become a master. Actually, like, well, one friend assured me that I shouldn't feel guilty about the thought of charging so much for a work or a painting that I did in a few minutes. And he told me like, well, Picasso once said, Picasso must have been around 60, 65 years by then. Picasso once said when one person remarked that, oh, you did that in 5 minutes. How come you're charging $1 million for it? So he said, no, I did it in 65 years and
Yes.
5 minutes. So that means the work is an accumulation of everything that you are through the years. Yeah.
That's
So
right.
it may have been executed in a very, very, very short amount of time, but it's not that time alone that determines its outcome. It took years to get to that point, get to that point of mastery. And one of my concern is actually to get to a point of mastery where I become very complacent and comfortable with
Mm.
my process. And that's not where I want to go. I always want to retain a certain degree of uncertainty about my whole process. So I like to enjoy the experience of searching, of constantly looking for things that's new.
Yeah.
There are a lot of nuances that can be kind of encountered along the way each time you do art. And for that reason, I do art almost every day because I'm always kind of gratified by each encounter of those nuances.
And I mentioned to Mark how I love all his Wave series, but lately it's been changing a lot, and the more interesting it gets, like this one. And then he came out even with it's as he's saying, it's becoming more surreal. But then, like I said, realism to surrealism, it's just a perfect blending, I think. So when I start looking at his work, and I said, it's amazing how what you said, like you get so comfortable in painting the same water, you have mastered your water, but now he's adding so many elements.
Mm,
I see what
mm,
you're saying, that this didn't belong there before, but all of a sudden it's he's getting to a new realm.
mm.
I
Yeah,
love
I
the
think what one should never be comfortable with having reached mastery of a certain form. I think it's always best that artists should continually challenge themselves, explore, and so complacency is maybe having surrendered yourself to a situation where you say, okay, this is it. I'm not moving anymore. I'm fine and happy with where I am, and that's it. No. And I guess in my view, it sort of negates the essence of existence. Because to me, the essence of existence is continuous progressive growth. So if you decide that that's it,
yeah.
you're not moving anymore. So you have decided to stop growing.
Well, I think that's a wonderful way to end our sixth of the series, as we plan to build more into the uh, the psychology, the philosophy of art, and the mindset behind the artist. I think this is really, really important matters for us to discuss, and I look forward to listening to more of this, but about your art history, the one that you teach with the Linangan Art Residency. For us who are based in United States, you see, we don't have this. We really don't enjoy the exchange of ideas. It seems to be that everybody's just on their own unless you enroll in the school. So this is a very welcome and a very welcome event for us. And we will start segmenting this into smaller, like 15, 30-minute segments. And let me just admit Otto here. And I know he was going to come in earlier, but this is a perfect time that, you know, we could exchange ideas. And for us who really need to be more connected with you, let me stop sharing for a while and say hello to Otto. There he
Oy,
goes.
Ottoman.
Ako, late. Ngayon ko lang naalala.
Uh,
Well, it's okay because we're just now talking about you
we're-
know the
uh,
variety of, but
uh,
since you are there, I want to pull out something that belongs to you. Yan, yan. That's Autonary. Yes. Since you're there, you might as well tell me about this painting. This is your latest one.
Yeah.
I read a little bit about this, and it's about the daughters of Aphrodite and Ling Ling.
Oh,
It's a narrative of love, power, and the cycle of life, inspired by the mythology of Aphrodite, right? The Greek goddess of love and beauty. Talagang Otto is still in that stage of love and beauty and passion, romance and devotion. But I love it.
thanks.
Yeah. So, but you have here some kind of transfiguration of this young boy who is actually your son, right?
Apo.
This is the figure of your son. So, from what I read, it's a transfiguration of the younger years into adulthood. So it serves some kind of a metaphor of how eventually everything is rising and falling. So maybe you can tell us a little bit more about your process here. We're talking of art form, you know. So maybe tell us a little bit more about your process.
Yung process ko parang kasi more on appropriation yung mga ginagawa ko ngayon. So pag may isa akong nakitang image, biglang nangungusap ka agad sa akin. Sabi ko ito. So when I saw this yung painting ni Bouguereau, nagkaroon kaagad ako ng idea. Kaya madalas rin akong nanonood, nagpipinterest, nagbo-browse sa mga old images na ako nakikita, tapos biglang nangungusap sa akin yung image, tapos pinagsasama-sama ko siya. Pero tapos nakakabuo siya ng panibagong narrative sa pag-juxtapose at saka collage ng mga image. So nabibigyan siya ng panibagong kwento. Nabibigyan siya ng panibagong kwento. So sa technique naman, umabot ako ng 20 to 25 layers sa figures ng mga babae. So medyo malapit ko na ma-achieve. Kasi umabot ng 40 layers sila Rembrandt sa painting nila sa mga portraits, sa mga figures ng mga old masters. So hindi ko pa na-achieve yung 40 layers. So naka 25 layers pa lang ako. So sa technique, parang ini-enjoy ko yung process. More on process ako.
Yeah, and that's what we really want to hear kasi it's something we still need to learn. So,
parang dito kasi parang mas gusto ko kasi yung nararamdaman kesa sa nakikita. So may mga madalas yung utak ng tao na parang biniblend ko yung kulay sa utak, hindi sa mata. Let's say kung gagawa ka ng babaw, para yung utak mo sasabihin green yun. Unlike na yung parang gano'n. So ito, ang dami kong process, ang dami kong conscious ko ng kulay na parang yung process ko, parang gusto ko parang kinokontrol mo yung mind ng viewer. Parang ganun. Kumbaga yung mga senses nila, habang tinitingnan nila, parang subconscious, yung mga subconscious nila, Hindi nila nakikita lang nila, pero hindi nila alam, nararamdaman nila yon. Kasi mas maganda tingnan ng painting sa pakiramdam kaysa sa mata, di ba? So ayun, parang gusto ko tingnan ng painting from mula sa puso, mula sa nararamdaman kaysa sa nakikita lang.
So I see what you're saying, yung process mo, sinimulan mo yung maraming tao dun sa loob, tapos patong-patong, lumabas na lumabas yan, no? And then
Opo,
ito,
opo.
na to.
So
Wow.
parang kahit yung mga impasto layers yan, siguro yung background, umabot rin ako ng mga 10 to 15 layers. Pero nagiiwan ako ng yung mga first layer. So parang siya na layers, tapos nagbe-blend na siya. Parang ginagawa ng mga impressionist nila tawag dino, ay naroon naman yung technique ko scientific yung approach nila Monet. Sila Monet, di ba? Parang yung kinikiliti yung utak mo habang tinitingnan mo yung painting niya. Nagbe-blend sa utak. So bukod dun sa mensahe, bukod sa narrative, kinikiliti ng mga colors yung utak na ayun, hindi mapaliwanag. Ang reaction lang ng viewer, pwedeng masaya siya. Ayun.
Yeah.
Ayun.
It's really something when you look at these works. Kahit yung yan yung mga works ni Junior na patong-patong din. So and it's a challenge to us, to follow that kind of process. Parang ang sarap gawin, the way you talk about it. Yeah. But thank you so much for sharing that. Ito, gusto ko rin to, impasto mo.
Yung grow
Marami
old video.
Ito, no? Yung mga candles, I love also those series. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. So we're coming to the end of our discussion, and thank you so much for coming just at the right time. That actually you missed what Manny was saying earlier about from the old masters and then the present. But then you came at the right time because now you're talking to us about how you blended that.
Oh,
right,
yeah.
Manny? Di ba parang yung mga sinasabi mo kanina? Alright, so
Sinabi ko ba?
yung sa old process ba,
Yeah. I'm joking.
start from the old process,
Yeah.
but then, you can relate it to the present day. Kasi kung gagawin mo pa rin yung old, I mean, bakit yung pa rin yung ginagawa mo? Why the old? And this is very
nag-live video ko kahapon na sa Antipolo ko, nakasama ko si Mang Ato. Nag-live video kami. Ay nga yung topic rin, yung parang yung nami-miss rin ng younger generation artists. Process.
The process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we had the perfect conversation about that process. So next time siguro sasama natin si Mang Ato. Ang hirap niyang
mas maganda.
But thank you so much. I know Manny has another meeting, no? And I just want to stop sharing. Before I stop sharing, I want to quickly bring everyone to eaglecharities.org website. Yan yung balanong balanong komedya kay Junian. To remind everyone that based on what you heard today, please use those process because we have a competition. And ito naman, nasa sa inyo na to, how you interpret Christianity or Catholic devotion of the 500 years. Maybe it's a process of putting together so many figures. Show it to us because we are on the hunt for the top 50, which we are showing at the Manila Cathedral. And we are coming up with a book. So lahat ng sumsali kasama sa book. And that is one opportunity that we want to give everyone. It's going to be a historical book. So come to our website, ecocharities.org. Everything is there. Pati size 30 by 40. But we might extend this deadline. Let me stop it for now. Okay, because I want to see everyone on a gallery view. There you go. Oh, we have Jessa. Jessa, if you're in there, she's one of our top 10 with the Jose Rizal competition. Yeah. All right. So any last words from our main speaker, Manny? What when can we expect next sa series natin? Para naman iba talaga merong belongs
Uh,
behind.
I don't know. It's so hard to say what's next, but I think as far as what we're doing is concerned, we're like facing a lot of prospects, and we're happy with how our program is growing. And with your initiative, uh, we can expand the reach of our coverage, and perhaps build on from there. Other possibilities. We're really happy with the prospects of connecting more with Filipinos in the United States, and enter into more you know meaty conversations as to like issues on identity, history, and where to go from there.
Right, right.
Mm.
Well, that's excellent because this is being recorded and edited. It will be edited and it will be out soon. It's currently going live on YouTube, which I shared in a Facebook account. But
Mhm.
the final edits will be coming on as a live broadcast on StreamYard. So it's perfect. And
Yeah.
Otto, any tips, last minute tips dun sa mga nag-iisip pa ng mga art forms nila and processes. I like everything I heard from you so far.
Enjoy the process. Parang ayun yung ano walang shortcut sa ano Lahat ng bagay may process. Yung excellence at saka perfection dumadaan sa process. So ang point doon parang ay balik na yung quality at saka yung hindi mediocrity. So ang mediocrity kasi nag-shortcut sa process, may lacking sa ano. Pero pag nasa process, ini-enjoy yung process, ma-achieve mo yung excellence. Imperfection pero excellence, di ba? Parang ganun. Ayun, just enjoy lang. Enjoy lang.
Okay, thank you so much. So until our next edition, ladies and gentlemen, and just join us once again. And this is a very nice year-end talk as we enter the new year again, New Year of Arts na naman. So thanks so much to our frequent lecturer. And he's saying he doesn't know what Master of Divinity means, but that's what he took under theology as a master's, actually. Kaya Master, Manny Garibay. Don't cringe at the word master.
Sige na nga.
Thank you po, Master.
And Otto, thank you so much. Nakahabol ka rin. And I know Manny has another speaking engagement, but until next time, for the coming Advent, Merry Christmas, everyone. This is Carol Hutko, and we will see you again in the coming year for a new set of topics that we will be planning for you. Thank you, Otto.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Bye.
Merry Christmas. Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.